Yes, inseparable.
Inseparable, which the two parties have agreed to. So can, in a joint authorship situation, can one party, in this case me who's written the lyrics, say, I've changed my mind, even though we can't separate the two works, or this work now, I'm going to perform this as poetry without the music, even though I've agreed that it's a joint copyright.
Yes, because you are talking about the lyrics now.
Right.
Because lyrics is also qualifies as a literary work.
Okay.
Yes, it has a separate
Right.
value on its own.
Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
This is great, I'm learning. Let's make this whole session about this, please.
So thank you very much. Okay, Mike.
Okay, from what you're saying, what really comes to my mind is P Square. There are two, and obviously they both write songs and produce, and now they are apart. But Peter, when he goes to shows, plays the music that they both recorded. Rude Boy, the same thing. They play the music that they both recorded, and we've not heard anything. Oh, I wrote this. You cannot perform this. I wrote that. You cannot perform that. So I think that's a clear example of joint
Absolutely.
authorship.
Yes, any of them can perform it.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. You can't sue. They can't sue themselves on that work because they are joint author. They are joint authors, so it could be 50-50. So now that's it. That's an interesting scenario. Now, it's possible that both belongs to two different CMOs. It's very possible that, and that's where metadata comes in, and that's where split sheet comes in. These are twins, blood brothers. In music business, there is no blood brother. Yes, there is no blood brother. So they have to sign a split sheet. That because in between that mix is their brother manager, who also might have a share, maybe as a publisher. So there needs to be a clarity of who owns what. So that if Peter, for example, is in CMO A, and Paul is in CMO B, once it is collected, and that's why when they perform, one of the other things that performers do and they leave money on the table is, if you come to a landmark center, for instance, here, and you do a show, it is given that landmark center is licensed by a CMO for what? For public performance. Now, you have a DJ track 1, DJ track 2, and all of that. As an artist, for you not to leave money on the table, you need to regularly submit set list to your CMO after every performances. It is that set list that enables your CMO to cue that in to the distribution rule, so that when they are distributing money gotten from Landmark, they already have those who have performed at Landmark. Excuse me, sorry. They already know those who have performed at Landmark. Now, please, there could be offices in Landmark that are also playing music. So understand this. There could be offices in, so somebody subscribed to Ndondo or subscribes to Spotify, and your phone is supplying music to your co-workers and all of that. That is another right that is implicated, different from the public performance. That is what we call communication to the public. You are providing entertainment for your co-workers. The law says you are liable to pay the CMO. So you can see that when we talk about workflow, it starts from registration. ensuring that there is proper registration, proper attribution. Ownership is different also from giving credit. It's important that you can give a sound engineer credit, you can give the backup singers credit, you can give the drummer credit, and all of that. But that does not mean that they should share from the authorship and the percentage that comes from that. So Daniel, yeah.
Just want to, and I'm not going to try to drag this out, but there's another really important thing when it comes to neighboring rights, which is with platforms. And so equitable remuneration that follows neighboring rights is now being discussed when it comes to streaming. Because up until now, streaming has not given out equitable remuneration. But now they are discussing it because music streaming platforms are built more and more around playlists, already curated playlists, looking more and more like a radio and a broadcast. Hence, in Europe now, they have at least 3 markets, Belgium, Spain, and one more, who are saying that we will introduce a 3% equitable remuneration levy on streaming, which is, and already from those markets who have tried it, they see that many of the artists, the performers, get more from the equitable remuneration than through the royalty system, which is super interesting. I know I was in conversation with a gentleman who's closer on the European Commission, who said that the European Commission is actually considering 12%, which is the same as authors' rights. And if that goes through, equitable remuneration will completely outperform the money you get from the royalty systems, for the performers.
Fantastic. You see, that's something we can also learn as Africans. That's something we can also learn. Thank you for that info. Yes, Maureen.
In one of my classes, a discussion came up when we're using case study of the easy concept issue with Mercy Chinwo. So, and then we talked about Mercy Chinwo wanted to claim the catalog, and Easy Concept said no, of course, the catalog belongs to the label. Now, the question in the class came up was, okay, if the catalog belongs to Easy Concepts, then on the streaming platforms, you still have Mercy Chinwo's name, and the name obviously belongs to her because she left with Mercy Chinwo. So where the royalty goes to Easy Concept, she has not changed her name. How do we separate? How does she? Because she's still doing her performance. She has new songs now that belongs to her. We still on the name is Mercy Chinwo. And the question is, in some streaming platform, you don't have the same names, right? So where does Easy Concept and Mercy Chinwo get that separation when they still have, let's say in Spotify, you have Mercy Chinwo for Easy Concept, then Mercy Chinwo for Mercy Chinwo?
Yes, yeah, that is correct. They can't change the name. She can't change the name. She's already
still be on the same streaming platform.
Absolutely. Now, works produced under Easy Concept. Understand this. Most copyright law provides for transfer of copyright. The laws would usually use transmittability. That you can transmit, because under most laws, copyright is deemed immovable, is deemed movable property. Is deemed as movable property. It is transferable through what? Through assignment, through testamentary disposition, which is will, and through operations of the law. And the fourth one, even though the law was not explicit about that, is through licensing. You know, but licensing could be exclusive or non-exclusive. But licensing does not transfer ownership. Do you understand? But the other three transfers ownership. Good. So when a label signs an artist, a label requires the artist, as part of the contract, to assign the rights inherent in the master to the company, even though in first instance, the owner of a sound recording, our law will say the author of a sound recording is the person who makes the arrangements for the recording of that work. And usually it is the label. So, at first, it is the label that owns it. So, but they go through contract to solidify that, to say you are transferring all the rights inherent in that work. So the fact that you are no longer an artist signed under the label does not mean that your name will be pulled out, no. Because the moral right to that work still belongs to you. Even where you have assigned the work to the label, you still own the moral right in there. Now, moral right is also not everlasting. Just the same way economic right is not everlasting, at least in most African countries. Moral right ceases from the point when the economic right expires. Do you get it? So that's it. So Mercy Chinwo can go and create her own record label with still Mercy Chinwo, and there will be no conflict and there will be no breach. Yes.
So, there's something I found out recently, that the name Jose Mourinho was owned by Chelsea. Hence, even after he left the club, he couldn't use the name on any other merch. He had to create a logo. And that ownership lasted for give or take 20 years. And so I want to ask, with relation to this, if that name, Mercy Chinwo, was copyrighted by the label and owned by the label, does that not mean that she cannot use it on her own, even if that's her name, for another song on the streaming platform?
Okay, misconception to be corrected. Copyright does not copyright names. You understand? Copyright does not copyright name. You can trademark it, yes, but you can't copyright it. So if easy concept, Mercy Chinwo is actually a biological name. So the label cannot trademark it. So that automatic. However, if she had a stage name that the label gave to her, Kiss Daniel is an example. Kiss Daniel used to be K-I-Z-Z, then used to be K-I-S-S, okay, Kiss Daniel. But when the global world was the GW or whatever, right? G worldwide, when they fell apart, because that name was trademarked to the label, that put a stop from him using that name. So he now use K-I-Z-Z. You understand? So that's the only way he was able to survive that. Exactly. So the pronunciation, kiss and keys. So it's, except you listen carefully, you might not, yes. No, we need to move on. Sorry, I can do. I'm sorry. No, sorry. No. Let's move on. Please, this is not a, because I can talk on this thing for the rest of the day.
I know you.
See, I've crossed my leg. I can talk about this for the rest of the day. And please, let's go to the district. Kendo, we might come back, but I just wanted to make those clarification, because there are some things that, and I don't want us to leave here without misconception and all of that. So thank you for listening. So our second showcase for today, I'll be inviting the CEO of Roots, Dicey, to please come and give us his presentation. Okay. Talk to us on what is Roots.
Okay, while Dicey is coming out, please in the course of this today's program, we would crave the indulgence of some of us that have attended from the first day to actually share your experiences. Just 2 minutes, what you have learned and your experience and what you think we should do better. So in the course of this, we would have that as well. Daisy, please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Daisy. How many of us can remember this era when you needed a baba like this, or you needed a taxi to move around with convenience? If you go back to this era, remember that we had millions of car owners at the time that didn't know that they had an idle asset they could make extra income from. Owning a car at the time was more of like owning a liability. But then something happened over time. A company called Uber came. Next. So a company called Uber came and opened the eyes of millions of car owners, enabling them to unlock billions of dollars from their idle cars. I strongly believe that the African music market is in a similar era right now. So when millions of car owners' eyes were blind to the idle money that they could not make, I believe that there's currently millions to billions of dollars sitting idle right now that artists could make directly from their fan base. Artists from Africa could make directly from their fan base. But no company has come to unlock that wealth yet for artists. And that's what we're trying to do at Root. Please, next. So at Root, we're building the direct-to-fan infrastructure for artists to earn directly from their super fan base before, sell their music directly to their super fan base before it comes out on streaming. So we are building the monetization engine and ownership of fan data for artists across Africa. So for an example, an artist on our platform can put out his music on our platform before it comes out on streaming. To paint a better picture, you know the movie industry, you go to cinemas before, you watch the movie on cinemas most times before it comes out on streaming, and the music producers, they make so much, the movie producers, sorry, they make so much money from the cinemas before it now comes out on streaming. So they make profit already. So our platform, I'd like you to just picture it like the cinemas, but then for the music industry. There's a platform called Bandcamp. Bandcamp already does something similar to what it does, but Bandcamp is more focused on the Western market. Bandcamp have opened over $1.7 billion for the, unlocked $1.7 billion for the Western market, but then Bandcamp is not focused on the African market. Bandcamp is not tailored for the African market. Next. How many of us remembers Mode 9 or knows Mode 9? Mode 9 is one of Nigerians' greatest hip-hop rapper. Mode 9, next. Mode 9 joined our platform organically, and when he joined our platform, I jumped on a call with him. And in the call, he told me that he actually used Bandcamp, the platform I just showed earlier. And he said that when he used it, he sold his album directly, and he made over $1,000 on Bandcamp. But then he said that his Nigerian fans could not pay. His Nigerian fans could not use Bandcamp because they were complaining that he could not use Bandcamp because it's not tailored for them. And like I said earlier, Bandcamp is not tailored for the African market. Then as we're talking, he also told me that he actually found our platform from another artist that was using our platform. And he said that he saw that we solved that problem for him, and now he saw that his fans can pay him directly on our platform. Then he decided to join our platform. Next. So I started this journey 3 years ago with my co-founders. We didn't start as a music tech platform, though. We started with something else. It was quite weird. We started as an online marketplace for phone repairs. If you know Computer Village, our goal at the time was we're going to digitize that experience. So this was our first website. We launched, and it didn't go as we expected, but then this experience taught us how to build. I've been a music producer for 8 years, and I also had to teach myself how to code. I taught myself cloud engineering, and also taught myself UI UX design. And this was what enabled us pivot through around 5 ideas before we now got to direct to fan. And to be fair, I was kind of running away from music. I thought I could not blend music and tech together but then I had to come back home. And now me being a music producer, being technical, gave us that unique insight and unique advantage to go after this problem. So as I was talking to, I said earlier that I was talking to Mode 9, and when he jumped on the call with me, we really bonded, and we spoke for like 2 hours, and 2 days after, we also had another call, and he was playing me his music. We were just having conversations. I'm Gen Z, Mode 9 is an elder. Mode 9 is an elder, and I kind of told him a bit of my story during the call. He now said, I thought, when I joined your platform, I thought it was some big guys that built this platform. I didn't know it was some Gen Z that was building this thing. And when he said that, I laughed because I actually didn't want him to know I was Gen Z earlier on, because I thought maybe he wouldn't take us serious. But then he still figured out. But then I said that because I'm Gen Z, and I know there are elders in this house that relate to another era I would like us to look at, which is the era when you had to go to libraries to get information. There was no internet at the time. And if you remember, Yahoo came and solved that problem. Yahoo made information accessible, but then over the years, Yahoo created a new problem for itself, which was that Yahoo created a new problem for itself, which was that information was accessible, but then it was not organized and it was not tailored for you. Then a company called Google came. You all know Google. Google came and solved that problem Yahoo created for itself. Now information was tailored for you and it was more organized for you. In the same way, Spotify also came about 20 years ago. Spotify beautifully solved the problem of accessibility to music and piracy. But Spotify literally changed the music industry. But then, over the years, Spotify created a new problem for itself, which was that artists only earn pennies per stream. And it's quite ridiculous in the African market because 100,000 streams only pays out $30. This is not sustainable for our industry. And that's where we... So, next. And that's where we come in at Root. But I use Spotify and Root alongside Yahoo and Google as an example. But then there's a slight difference between those two examples. And I'd like you to look at the banking sector to understand that difference. How many of us here uses the fintechs app and also the traditional banks, like together? I do that too. If you look at the banking sector, fintechs did not replace traditional banks at the end of the day. Fintechs became a new layer on top of the traditional banks that enabled us to get accessibility to finance easily and seamlessly. For example, today I have OPay and also have UBA. In the same way, I like to say we're not trying to replace the streaming platform. We are trying to build a new monetization layer on top of the streaming ecosystem that enables artists to own and monetize their most valuable asset, which is the superfan relationship. So today, you can have Roots and you can also have Spotify. They can coexist together. About 17 years ago when I was a kid, this is my mom. This was my mom. She dropped her album in 2009. She also sold VCD. And I remember the day of our launch, family and friends came, and they bought the album directly from her. But then, they also even paid more than what she asked for an album, and she made significant revenue that day. So when I was preparing for this presentation, I found this video. Actually, because I've not seen the video for a long time, so I actually saw it from the perspective of an adult for the first time, because as kids, we didn't see the work my mom was putting into it. And I saw it from the perspective of an adult, like, oh wow, my mom went to a music studio to record. She never took us to the music studio, so we didn't know. We just thought she had to pay a music producer. She had to hire a video director and pay him. She even had a band, that this is a band, that she had to pay. She even hired a limousine for she hired a limousine for a music. She hired a limousine for a music video. But then, fast forward to today, my mom no longer does music. Life has taken her through a different path. But then, she was never. I'm pretty sure nobody knows my mom. She was not a popular artist. She was an average artist, and she's not really tech savvy. But then, I asked myself today, if she was going to drop music today, I now tell her that she needs 100,000 streams to make $30 after the stress she went through, or that she needs some amount of YouTube streams to get some pennies. This will make sense to her, and this will encourage her to even do the music. And this is the reality of many artists today, and everybody just trying to play along. You know, let's just go about this. And I was also watching this video. I also found myself in the. I found myself here, and this was me. I was. So go back. I was just roaming around. My head was very round at the time. I hope it's not that round. But as I was roaming around, the director decided to leave this scene there. But I don't think it's appropriate. But then I believe everything happens for a reason. And I was saying this. I was why even me as a kid, I didn't know that the seed was being planted in me. You know, to now build this future that we're trying to build, and we have done that. And our goal now is we're trying to take that experience my mom had, where she still sees this directly, and even had the opportunity for fans to pay her whatever, even more than what she asked for. I want to bring her to a new digital world, and we've done that. So there's an upcoming artist called Femi. She's one of the artists on our platform, and in the space of 3 days, she was able to make the equivalent of 100,000 streams in revenue on Spotify on our platform. She also did the same model proposed. She dropped it on our platform first before she now put it out on streaming for our fans, our super fans. So we did 2 things for Femi. Remember when I talked about the idle money that millions of Kaonas didn't know that they had? Femi also didn't know that she had idle money that our super fans could pay her. Maybe she should have never even made that money. But then we opened our eyes and unlocked that money for her. Then secondly, we solved the problems Spotify and the streaming platforms created for her. We believe that thousands of artists across Africa that also need this same solution that we have built. And if we could solve at scale, we could unlock potential millions to billions of dollars for artists. But then, we don't plan to just unlock this amount of wealth by just enabling artists to sell music directly. We also plan to build an ecosystem where artists can also sell merchandise, because it's a huge opportunity for artists. Mr. Abias has been complaining about the gaps in merchandise. Artists can also sell more tickets locally. Artists can also sell more vinyls. Artists can sell more signed vinyls. Artists can sell digital experiences on the same platform. And most importantly, even do their email marketing and sell direct and communicate directly with their fans. And most importantly, own their fan data. So inside the importance of owning the fan data, I would just like you to imagine if Michael Jackson's estate or his family owns the direct emails of all his super fans to date. Just imagine they own the direct emails of all, or the direct locations of all the super fans to date. This is like an asset that they could pass down through their generation, but then streaming platforms don't give the artists the data. Michael Jackson, they released his biopic recently and it's made close to $1 billion. Michael Jackson was also recently topping Spotify global chart. This shows that fans still want to interact with their favorite artists even when they are no longer alive. And en route, artists cannot pass their fan data down to their children. Imagine a legend like Asha being able to pass down her fan data down to her children. Currently, I have our working mobile app and web app. We have done some campaign. We're still very early. We've done some campaign with some upcoming artists, and we've paid out over 200,000 naira to upcoming artists, and now we are ready to scale and serve established artists. If we know Midem is one of the biggest music global conferences held in France, and they had their 60th anniversary this year. We're the only African startup that was selected for the Midem Innovation Award for this year. This was huge for us because
Okay, they were selected thanks to Music Tech Nigeria.
Oh, thanks to Music Tech Nigeria that gave us the opportunity. So Midem, this was huge for us because Midem was also the same conference that spotlighted SoundCloud in their earliest days. Midem spotlighted Roots, Spotify in their earliest days, and now Midem is spotlighting Roots. Having a world-class jury like this select us signals that we're building the inevitable future for the African music market. and we can't do this by ourselves. We believe that we can't go on this journey by ourselves. We're going to need you to come on this journey with us. One of our founding team members, Billy, used to tell me that, you see, you need to take, like he said, you need to take Music Tech Nigeria very serious. You know, you said Music Tech Nigeria is like Music Tech Nigeria, one of Music Tech Nigeria first babies, and it's very right because that's why they give us this stage to even talk today. And we're super grateful to Music Tech Nigeria. We are also grateful to Dr. Chinedu specifically because we won't be here without him as well. You know, when you're trying to build a future like this, you tend to face so many rejections and be emotionally draining. I remember when I was in a call with him one day, and he told me something that stuck with me. He said that he won't be wasting his time talking to me, even if this was something that could fly in Africa or even the Caribbeans. You know, having someone like that say that to us just give us so much fuel to keep on going. It's not in the house, but thank you very much, Dr. Chinedu. I also want to thank Mr. Michael Odion, because he has also been very, very amazing to us. And some other people that have really been encouraging us, Mr. Obi Asika, Fini from Regal Stone, and my co-founders are also here. They could just stand up to see now. Yeah. So I said earlier, 70 years ago, the seed for me to build this new future was being planted in me by my mom. And now that seed has fully grown to become roots. And what we want to do is take that experience she had, bring it to a new digital world, and help serve artists across Africa, helping them unlock the billions of dollars or millions of dollars that is currently sitting idle. And if you like to be part of this journey, whether you're an artist, you're a lawyer, because I know a lot of lawyers are here, we are an industry stakeholder, you're an investor, you want to be part of this journey with us, you can reach out to me at dice.africa. You can also, our website is also road.africa. So before I wrap up, I just want to show I just also want to show a walkthrough of our product. I also said that I don't know if the sound is working. The sound is not working. No, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, let me give you the walkthrough. So this is, can start from the beginning. Let me just see my voice to the walkthrough. Okay, so I think they said it's muted. But it's fine, I can. It was just a song, the instrumental song I produced the instrumental, so I wanted to listen to one of my work if you are curious about how my production sounds like. But then, good.
I mean, if it's not playing, you can still do your presentation. Yeah. You can still do your presentation.
Don't worry. Don't worry. You can play the video without the sound. So yeah, things going on. This is like the dashboard of the website. This is when an artist can upload their music. So this is also like an artist profile. then they can pay whatever they want, set a minimum price. Then they can preview it as a fan to know what it looks like to use the platform. We also have the mobile app, but this is the web version. So, well, building an infrastructure, not just a platform, artists can also do other things. So, for example, there's EPK. They could create EPK on the website. In the future, they could also sell tickets. They can sell merch. But for now, I just focused on selling music directly. So we give every artist a unique website that they can use. This is an example of an EPK for an artist to send out to. So this is the website link we give to artists. So this is an example. So this is the exclusive music. You can see it's 1,000 naira. You can also join. Fans can subscribe to the artist. They get the data, the location, the emails as well, and they can export it in CSV. So there's also transparency is also important. So we show out they paid out how much you are being paid, because our platform, how we make money is we take a commission of 12% on each transactions. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dicey. So the floor is open. Questions, comments? Okay. Number one. And number two.
Okay, this is very, very impressive. Okay, now looking at, I'm a mommy to a lot of upcoming artists. Okay, so working in the Department of Music, I have a lot of upcoming artists, and this, to me, as an African mother, you travel and you come back, your children will say, "Mommy, what did you bring for us?" So I'm going to add this to one of the collection I'm going to be taking home. Now, but the question is, because I know they're going to be asking me a lot of questions, obviously I'm going to connect you to them. So how easily can they be part of this? Is it they just open the website and upload their music, or how can one be part of this event and, this project, like the upcoming artists?
Yes. So our website is Root.Africa. Our website for artists is artists.root.africa. But then they need to apply. So because we go through the artists, because we're trying to avoid impersonation. Someone can say it's Burna Boy, someone can say it's Wizkid. So once you apply, you put your social media handle, we check it out, and we see that they are looking similar, especially if you're an upcoming artist, then we approve your application, then you set up your bank details. We also pay out daily, the next day, but during the weekends, we don't pay out till the next working day. So it's very, very straightforward. You just go, just like you are uploading a song on Instagram. The only difference is you are getting paid, and it's like a tool for artists. I'll not call it a discovery website. So we're not, because many artists like asking us, are we going to help them get fans? We're building like the infrastructure that empowers them to monetize the fans that they have, because there are different tiers of artists. There's the upcoming, there's the C-list artist, there's the A-list artist. So upcoming artists, they are super fans, and majorly maybe their family, my friends, like my mom, her super fans she was not popular, it was just friends and family. Those ones can support them, can even pay. Femi, for example, she made over 80,000 naira on our platform, and one fan paid 20,000 naira for her music. So something like that can also happen there for the C-list and the B-list and the A-list. They can also use the platform easily to the same way. But once you're a B-list on our platform, if you try to, because we have a system that detects whether if you put your name as Wizkid, it flags it, and we ask you to reach out to our support, because those are going to be like more of direct contacts with their team, not.
Okay, I also want to suggest that maybe add it as part of your event to do campus store. So try to campus store, because most of the campus store, go campuses, go to schools.
Okay,
yeah. So you can start from University of Port Harcourt. I'll be there to help you out.
No problem.
Then you can also visit the Department of Music. We have a lot of artists coming up, there, and then so that you can educate. Mostly they are the younger generations that actually do this. So add campus store as part of your events to promote what you do, starting from the Department of Music of any university. And I'll be there to help if you're coming to Uniport. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a compliment. I use Bandcamp for my own artists, and it's an absolute nightmare. The back end is a nightmare. This is very clean, very attractive, easy to use. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
please maybe buy Bandcamp and give them your interface.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I told you were going to do amazing. This is so cool. On the first day, I was talking about us taking back our power and not outsourcing our joy and trying to make sure that we create our own resources here. And this is outstanding. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask about the artists. When the music is being uploaded, are they going to have are you giving out ISRC codes and UPC codes? That's one. And is there any way you can connect with the DG of the Copyright Commission so that some of the people that want to do registration can have access just immediately via your website as well to do some form of registration? You know?
Okay.
So congratulations
Thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon.
That's fine.
My name is Anthony, I'm a journalist. I think we don't know the value of the D2Cs that, is creeping in right now, because we in this part of the world, streaming don't pay us as much as they pay others out there. And yesterday I was speaking with Amanda, and we were talking about how we can leverage what we know and what we do best, other than depending on streaming for just your sole revenue. Yes, we do live shows and all that. D2C is something that I feel personally is something that is going to get artists much more money for what they do. Please, I want to read a paragraph of a story I did recently to see the power of D2C and what it can do to an artist, just one artist. So this is, who knows the platform Even? If you know an Even platform, yeah. So independent hip-hop artist Mick Jenkins tested a D2C first experience in 2025 using the Even platform, a direct-to-farm infrastructure that enables artists to sell music and exclusive content to customers. He offered new projects for a 14-day pre-release window at $20 a price for the price points, before releasing them on DSP such as Spotify and Apple Music. In 2024, using streaming platform alone, Jenkins earned $176,947 in total for streaming. And in 2025, after using the D2C, his sales rose 88%. 88%, earning him a total of $332,000, to show you the power of D2C and what it can bring to an artist. So he rightly pointed out that you can also be doing your streaming, yeah? That's one thing. But having a D2C platform like this, I think this is very amazing. Shout outs to you. Your platform is like, it looks easy to, this seems so easy to use. Like, I mean, I am not an artist, but I feel like I need to be here. Like, I need to start releasing songs, like ASAP. I need to start testing my dreadlocks and all that. So yeah, thank you very much. We'll have to meet to talk. Yeah.
Please, Anthony, give him opportunity, interview him. Let's make him public.
Okay, I missed the earlier part, so if my question had been answered, please don't be offended if it had been addressed before I came in. You talked about fans and super fans in passing. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in your equation, where is the place of like virtual events where this group of fans and super fans who have a commitment to these artists to be more loyal than the regular large-scale people? What is that? Because for a new artist, or even for some, there's new, there's upcoming, before you get to the big stage. Putting live events together, like in the good old days, you go on a tour and get closer to your fans. There are fan mails, there are all of that, fan club and stuff. All of this has been reduced to like very quick, instantaneous communication. But the gap between fans most time today is that most artists actually lose sight of what should be a symbiotic relationship between your fan base and you as the artist. So a fan at least has 3 million followers and is following only 10 people. Some fans will consider it condescending. It's a psychological thing. So if you want to give disadvantaged artists the opportunity through this platform to be better than what ordinarily they would have been, I would think that creating some kind of virtual event space that makes the fans feel important, even if it's 10 minutes in a week, it doesn't have to be regular, but just have something that shows like, I know you are there, I recognize you. There's soft merchandising with third parties. The live events, the challenge will probably be data consumption. There is how you can also go around maybe having discounted data packages when you do such kind of engagement. So I believe that can make, in quote, the fans feel more important and more committed, and even help to aggregate and maybe mobilize more support. If, for example, I say I'm having this virtual event, the first 10 people will get like whatever it is. However, if you bring 100 people along, you get something a little bit extra. The fans just begin to feel a bit more important than just thinking we are following this person, doesn't even know we exist, outside of the super fans who have a different reason for being committed and loyal.
Thank you. Right, I thought she was contributing. Okay.
Okay. I was asking that for each song that is being released, that are you going to be giving the artist the songs ISRC numbers and UPC numbers?
Okay. So please, I don't know the meaning of IS.
Okay. So there are digital codes that are usually like attached to each songs.
Okay.
Yes. And it helps those songs to be recognizable and like so that they are known and they are not just lost. Sorry, what did you say?
Okay.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes.
So if we're going to give him that so currently I see that as a suggestion because we don't have that currently, but we'll definitely.
I'd love. I mean, I came in between your presentation.
Okay.
Well, based on what I heard, I think I love the sound of it.
Thank you.
For the past 2 days now, 3 days. Today is the third day. We've been talking about the problems in the industry and how we can prefer solution. But it's glad to see that someone is already doing the work in terms of how artists can earn adequately. So I'm a lawyer. Okay, I'm a lawyer, and based on I'm always very curious whenever I hear ideas like this. So I would just like to ask a few questions. First off, I want to know the phase, the stage you're at now. Have you launched? Okay. All right. So I'm just curious about, just love to ask a few things.
Okay.
First off, I would like to know the stage you're at now. Has it been launched, or is this just an MVP stage, or what phase are you at? Then secondly, I'm particularly concerned about data protection, right? How safe is the artist's data? I mean, the fans that subscribe to you, how safe is their data? Do you have those things in mind in terms of the architecture of your startup, right? Are they things you consider? Thirdly, are there also KYC? Do you have KYC that's implemented on this? also to protect, to make sure you're compliant and also protect your the artists that will subscribe, and then the super fans that would come on board. Then you mentioned something about paying out money, right? I'm sure you know you also have to get a license for that according to the CBN regulation. And then lastly, your intellectual property. Hope you also have that in mind to protect it, the startup, your brand name and everything.
Okay.
But these are just things I mean, if you don't have it now, also think you should have it, have in place.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
congratulations.
Thank
well
you.
done,
Thank you. I've kind of lost track. I'll try to answer. I'll try to answer the
Okay.
ones that I kind of lost track of the questions, but I remember you talked about security of data for the artists. And okay, you talked about the stage we're at. So we are currently, we have launched, we've done campaigns with upcoming artists. We've paid out over 200,000 naira to upcoming artists. We're still very, very early. But like I said, we have different tiers of artists. There's the upcoming artists, there's the mid-tier artists, and there's the B-list and A-list artists. But we've been focusing on upcoming artists for now. But then we are planning to scale to now start serving established artists. And we've started talking to some established artists already and talking about the issue of money. Okay, data protection. So based on data protection, our platform is secured, and we also make sure that on our platform, a regular user can't access another person's data. Is similar to how, you have an Instagram account. Your data is secured with Instagram. Your data is secured with us. We have the necessary security implementation in our backend that ensures, and we are also learning along the way too. But as you mentioned, that we still go back and make sure that we work on that the data security, because that very right is very, very important. We also talked about payments. Okay. Okay. CBN, yes. So how we operate is that, I don't know, we know Paystack and Flutterwave. They've made the work easy for us. We just partner with them, and they have their commission, so they pay out the money directly to the artist. We use them for our payment provider, so that solves that problem for us. Yeah, thank you.
Hi. Yeah. Great work you and your team have put together.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Great work. I don't know if you. Okay. During the presentation, you said something about paying every day, right?
Mhm.
So I want to know, like, what is the minimum payment threshold? Like, that's if you say you
Minimum.
pay, yeah, if you pay every day, like, how much do like each of these artists have to have before you pay out the money?
Oh, we pay on the go. So you make 1,000 today.
You pay 1,000.
Pay 1,000. So we are like, we want to, because every business operates that same way. So artists should also operate their creativity as a business. You can't expect a business to be waiting for their money maybe 1 month before they now collect their money. So we pay out, but that's dependent on our working days, because our partners, Flutterwave and Paystack, they don't pay out on. So during weekends, the payout will be held till the next working day.
Oh, okay. So you're saying if, let's say, there's 1,000 in the account,
Yes.
you pay, but anything less than that, you
Yes.
hold it till it gets to 1,000.
Yes. And for now also, another point is that fans can also pay what they want. So a fan can pay 5 million maximum. Some fans are very rich, especially, and also I also forgot to mention something. Let me just do that. Another feature we have on our platform, we have a leaderboard that shows top fans. So because fans are also psychological, especially in Nigeria, people like showing off. So a fan can pay 5 million naira, and you're in the leaderboard. You can even screenshot it and post it on Twitter, Instagram. Then other fans that say, this person is, celebrities can also even pay for themselves. So that's another interesting way to feature.
All right, Kenneth. A good idea. You're already making money. Congratulations. For what I've seen, I think this is tailored for Nigeria, Africa. And from your story, Mode 9, the reason why Mode 9 wasn't interested initially was because of Nigerians. I mean, why he was on boot camp. Bandcamp, Nigerians couldn't pay, right? But on this app, it will still be the same thing because Nigeria will still be able to pay that amount that people pay on boot camp. Now you want to scale and you want to start getting the bigger artists. What is that big idea that you're going to sell to these bigger artists that will make them leave where they are already, probably maybe boot camp, to come to your platform?
Okay. Yeah,
What's
so,
that
so
different idea?
Thank you. So you see the same case with Mode 9. So Bandcamp is not just only about payments. There's also a cultural factor to it. There are many factors that have to play to them not focusing on the African market. So an artist today would definitely have, like I talked about, millions of dollars that are sitting idle. You know, there are Nigerian fans that are willing to pay or get access to, I like to call them super fans, are willing to pay their favorite artist. So for example, an artist like Asha, she has so much cult following. And I saw a recent song on Spotify made, I think it was YouTube Music, or the stream was just, a single was over 1 million streams. That's $300 or $500 max. Now imagine she has a following. I'm pretty sure Asha can draw 30 to 50,000 fans that want to listen to her music because it's out on this, because she has a cult following. And if she drops it on our platform, people can pay 1,500, 10,000. Our fans, even globally, can still pay because we also accept international payments. And this is tailored for her. And secondly, the most important fact too is, when I talked about fan data, she also knows the location. Like I said, she needs to start operating as a business. She knows the locations of each fans. And a fan can be in Lekki, can be in Kano, but she'll know exactly where the fan is. So, for example, she has a dashboard. She says, oh, most of my fans are in Ogun State, for example. Let me do my next show in Ogun State. And she can also now embed different services for that particular fan. Like, oh, I also have merchandise. Because those are the fans that she actually needs to drive value for her business. So those are the advantages established artists have. And lastly, like I said, I'm not saying they should stop using the streaming platform. We're just building a new layer for them where they drive value from what is left out already.
Okay, thank you. We're actually running out of time, seriously, because we have a... Okay, but let's take Timmy.
So you said that you're focusing on upcoming artists at the moment. Is there a reason why you're not targeting the A and B listers now?
Oh, I said, thank you for the question. I said we were, but now we are ready to scale. We have put the infrastructure around serving those
So right now you're ready to onboard?
We're not fully ready though. We're also trying to raise money from investors to now, because we need to, our team have some constraints around serving.
Okay, so there is a different infrastructure you have in mind for them compared to upcoming artists?
No, it's the same infrastructure.
So why do you still need to prepare for an A-lister?
So, for example, on our platform, we need to be processing, for example, a popular artist will make payments. They can be 5,000 fans trying to open a website at once. They can be 10,000 fans. yeah, which the architecture can do that, but to scale, we can't. We have some constraints. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think this is great. Last year, we actually put Roots in the medium competition. And to our surprise, in December, we got a mail that medium emerged top 5. Roots, Roots emerged top 5. And the only African tech startup that was selected by Medium. I mean, we were very glad. The only reason why we did not make that number 1 was because we did not have the funds to go to France to attend Medium. That was the only reason why we did not make that number 1. But, I mean, at this point, getting to number 5 in the world at a forum like Medium says a lot. And that is the opportunity Music Tech Nigeria and Africa Music Business Roundtable bring to the younger ones, to innovators, to creators, policymakers, everybody. We need to get it right. I mean, look at the fantastic presentation. This is what we have. And this is what can scale a lot. We have money here sitting down. So we need to encourage our own. We need to encourage our own. It's very important. So I want to thank Ruth. I want to thank Dicey, for this wonderful. And please, if you have questions, please, during the break, you can meet him and we have discussions. And if you think you have funding for him, please, that is very key. Like Ibokoko said yesterday, we will be sending e-letters with payments instruction for Roots. Thank you, Dicey. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'll leave my colleague to take over, but please, before he comes, I would like to crave our indulgence. Please, for aesthetics' sake, we would like people to just move forward so that the latecomers can be at the back. Please, let's just move forward. For aesthetics' sake, everybody's a VIP, so don't worry. You can fill in here. Enjoy yourselves, please. For aesthetics' sake. Let's have, Tony, please. Let's just have, Dicey, please fill in here. Please. So that they don't assume that we have an empty hall when the hall is full. Sorry, the Roots team, you have to sit here. I don't know what you're doing at the back. Please come here. You are VIP, VVIP. Sit here. Let them see you. Correct. All right, Chinedu.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And thank you, Root team, for that presentation. All right. So we'll go straight to our last roundtable session for season 2. And we are looking at a very, very, very important discussion, the devaluation of human artistry. It sounds like too much grammar. You know, in an era of content saturation. I know a couple of top artists that really are dealing with, they are not mad though. They are not mad, but they are dealing with mental health challenges. Yes, because they need to provide content practically every week and all of that. So in an era of content saturation and algorithm-driven consumption, without much ado, I want to welcome our own prof, Professor Daniel Nordgaard from CreateMe and the University of Nordgaard, Norway.
So, think of this. There are some people who were not here on Monday, so I'll just do a little bit of recap of who I am and why I'm here. So my name is Sten Norgård. I come from Kristiansand, Norway. I work as a professor at the University of Agder. I did my PhD on how digital transitions impacts music business. And I work at the University of Agder at the Department of Popular Music at the Faculty of Fine Arts. We educate music performers on classical music, but mostly on popular music. And for the last 20 years, we've been specializing in adapting digital technology into music curriculum or music performance. And we were the first university or music educating university in, I think, Northern Europe, at least Scandinavia, who allowed for laptops to be personal instruments or to be the instrument of choice. As in samplers, groove boxes, and laptops as an instrument, as recognized as an instrument, which to begin with caused quite a lot of criticism and quite a lot of discussion, and eventually became a program that has been copied by several other universities. My background is from music. I used to perform. I used to be a performing artist. I used to tour and release music. I used to work with a very, very large music festival, which I eventually also became the festival manager of. We would have bands like, an artist like David Bowie, Coldplay, Daft Punk. All the main touring acts would host our festival. We were the biggest festival in Norway for many years. We eventually had to close down due to fee rising. The headlining fees exploded, and the capacity of our festival couldn't keep up with it. So around 2008, I left music, more or less, went into academia and did a PhD. I still sit on boards. I'm the deputy chair of Norway's Neighboring Rights Society, Gramo, and I've been that for the last 10 years. And I'm on the board of the Norwegian Featured Artists Coalitions, and I've been there for the last 12 years, I think, 11, 12 years, which is called Grammat. So it's the association for all the featured artists, the main artists in Norway. At the University of Agder, I lead two main centers. We have one center called Create Me, which is a center of excellence on creative use of technology in music education. It's a 5-year project, and we just got awarded this year a large center on AI and creativity called Mishmash, which is lasting for an additional 5 years. So much of what I've been focusing on for the last decade and a half is relating to licensing, it's relating to data, it's relating to how digital transitions must relate to those types of things in order to create sustainable solutions. And now more and more working on how AI is impacting those transitions. So I'm going to say a little bit about this. For those of you who have followed Purple Blue Academy's class where I've given a lecture, some of this may sound familiar, but I need to run through part of this in order to make an argument. And then hopefully after I've tried to make those arguments, we can have a discussion together. All right? So, Create Me, the essence of Create Me is how digital technology, how new technology impacts how we create, how we educate, and how the work market is being transformed. And that is at the essence of what we try to do with Create Me. I would encourage anyone within education or music to visit our website. I'll give you the website address at the end, and to see some of what we're doing. Obviously, one of the things that we do that we're mandated to do is to reach out. There's a mandate to have a national Norwegian Center of Excellence position, but there's also a mandate to be a network hub of international collaborations. And that is one of the things that we've been working on, and one of the obvious reasons of why we're here. And we've been partnering with Chinedu and with Michael over the last 3 years. So, When it comes to artificial intelligence, my position when it comes to artificial intelligence, as I mentioned also on Monday, is that I am agnostic. I don't necessarily fight it. There are lots of really good examples of how to integrate AI and how AI can facilitate processes in a leaner way and less expensive way. But there are also some challenges following it. And while I just want to emphasize what I tried to say on Monday is that I think we need to discuss it and address it in a constructive way without necessarily be, accused of being anti-technology or anti-whatever it is. There are issues that need to be discussed. My main concern with artificial intelligence relates to platform economics. So the concern is not necessarily within creativity or within artistry. It's within platform economics. And there are some logics with platform economics that makes that very problematic. So just to give you a quick backdrop of how we got there. This is the economic decline for recorded music globally. These are built on the IFPI numbers. And all of this was, it may be right, it may not be right, but it was said to be based on piracy, online piracy, whether it was Napster, the Pirate Bay, or whoever else it was. And on the other hand, the rise that we've seen since about 2013, 2014 is on streaming. Streaming is the blue part in this graph. So there is very little disagreements with the overall economic increase on recorded music being at the cause of music streaming. Now, Norway, as I also mentioned on Monday, Norway was one of the first markets to adopt music streaming, together with Sweden and South Korea. And around 2011, 2010, Norway started really adopting it. It's a small market, quite tech-savvy, and so we were early in adopting it. And we were early in experiencing some of the challenges that came from it. So the Norwegian government put down this committee, which I was asked to lead in 2013. And it was given a mandate to try to figure out what was the challenges for the Norwegian music industry coming from Spotify or from the platform economics. And what we saw in 2013 was that our local music seemed to be losing in a platform-based economy. Norwegian music was losing out. And what we saw was that streaming consumption seems to favor major international hits. Norway doesn't produce many major international hits. Hence, we seem to lose out. Our local share of our market is diminishing. A few years later, the UK did the same thing. They had this report coming out. It's a better report, much better than mine. And it's been written by David Hasselhoff, Richard Orthwan, Hugh Jong-sun, and Kenny Barr. But their summary, their conclusion is the same. So what they say is that there's a relatively stable pattern of concentration of streaming at the very top of the charts. The top 0.1% of the most popular tracks achieved more than 40% of all streams in all years. The top 0.4% accounts for 65%. The top 1% accounts for 75 to 80%. So that is how the streaming economics looks, which is it's a structure of or the dynamic of streaming economics, like it or hate it. So what we've been working with these last couple of years is why are we seeing these developments? To try to figure out why is this. And we touched upon some of this yesterday, the economic models. So one thing is the economic models. The other thing is the paradox of choice. And the third thing is ARPU, average revenue per user. And that is a key issue. And I'll just quickly, you know, much of this you already know, but I'll just quickly tap into this, spend a little bit time on ARPU, and then move a little bit further. So we know the economic models that music streaming leans on. We touched upon it yesterday. We currently work with something which is referred to as a pro rata model, which simply means all subscriptions divided on all streams. And then you get a per stream value. And then you go back to artists and you ask how many streams do you have, or to the tracks, and you multiply the streams with the per stream value. The per stream value is 0.000 something, depending on which currency you work with or what type of streaming membership you work with. Which is, you know, it seems fair. The challenge is, or the challenge that has been raised is that there's a disconnect between fan loyalty or fan engagement or fan listening and revenue stream. So put very simply, if I spend my entire Spotify subscription listening to Tony Allen, and let's say that I pay €9.99 a month to listen to Tony Allen, and I listen 10 times to Tony Allen. Perhaps I have a really, really nice stereo system, I really enjoy it, and I sit down, I dedicated listening session. Then what Tony Allen's, you know, estate gets or rights owners gets would be 10 times 0.00 something. And the question, of course, becomes what happens with the rest of the money? And the argument goes that the rest of the money goes into the pool of the top earners, the big, those who have the big volume. Could be The Weeknd, and it could be someone entirely else, Taylor Swift, or whoever else. Now, it's important to remember why we got here. And the Kristiansand Roundtable Conference, which I've been managing for some years, which is quite similar to this event. We've had many of the top stakeholders in international music business, including some of the streaming services, on directors level. And we've been talking about how we started this in 2007. So many of these people were in Kristiansand discussing this when platform streaming unfolded. And the reason why we ended up with the pro rata model was that when Spotify came, Spotify introduced a potential solution which the major rec companies had decided not to kill. They couldn't keep suing every digital opportunity. And so they decided to license it. But they didn't have a system to redistribute the funding based on the music. Could you? It's a little disturbing. So they didn't have the system. They didn't have the infrastructure. So what the major rec companies and the platform decided on was to simply divide the money coming in based on market share. And the market share was based on analog sales, on CD sales. And it was done out of necessity, not out of evil, or not out of, it was simply because you couldn't do it anywhere else. Challenging enough, that model has stuck by. And there are lots of different models that are being proposed. One is the user-centric model, where the money simply follows subscriber. There's a discussion of whether we should move over to minute-based. The current model is that a stream is counted once and once only after 30 seconds, and then it's not counted anymore. So if you have a track lasting for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes, it counts the same as any track lasting 2 minutes. The minute-based is how we divide money from radio, TV, any other type of, but not in streaming, for some reason. There's something called the artist-centric model, which was introduced by Universal Music. And it's not artist-centric, it's universal-centric, to be fair. But what the model says is that a song needs to have more than 1,000 streams per 12 months in order to activate payments. And there are lots of good reasons for that. One being that the infrastructure cost of simply accounting and giving out those payments are higher than the actual payment. So, for instance, in radio, and since I sit on the Neighboring Rights Society in Norway, we only pay out rights owners from radio and TV on neighboring rights once they have reached, I think it's 50 euros. So you have to have a minimum of before we activate payments. So we already have that in other types of systems. So it's not ludicrous to suggest. The challenge, of course, is that all of those streams that never accrue enough money to reach that is being distributed on the highest earners, of course, where Universal Music, Warner Music, and Sony Music represents the majority. And that's the part of the criticism. It favors catalog. All right. The second, attention. The paradox of choice. This is something which I think we discuss it, but it's important to revisit it. Barry Schwartz is an American psychologist, behavioral psychologist. He's been focusing on how we make choices, how we choose. And what Barry Schwartz is saying is that there's a peaking point on when you have too many options for us to make a good choice or a rational choice. And that peaking point is much lower than we tend to think. So we tend to think that more options is better. It's always better to have more options. But his argument is that once you go from having one option to having 3 options, it increases. Once you go from having 3 options to having 10 options, it keeps increasing. But once you go from having 10 options to having 100 options, or let's say 1,000 options, your choice range decreases because the time it needs to actually understand those options and to compare them against each other becomes so overwhelming that we cannot really make that type of choice. So we do one of two things. And this is Barry Schwartz's argument. One thing that we do when we are being left with too many options, we look for familiarities. So that's one thing and we see that in music. We see that in streaming platforms. Brand recognition, name recognition is extremely effective when there are too many options. So if you recognize something, then you seek that. The other reaction that Barry Schwartz points to is that we choose not to choose. We withdraw from the process. And in music streaming platforms, that's what we call playlists. We have someone else make those choices for us. So given that we have too many options, we see both of the reactions that Barry Schwartz is describing vividly in platform economics. The third reason that we discuss when it comes to streaming economics is ARPU, average revenue per user. And to put it as an example, when I was growing up in the physical age, I used to buy, I think, because I used to DJ and used to make a living out of that, I could at least fool myself into thinking that I could afford buying lots of records. But my monthly spending, I would buy typically 10 to 15 records per month. That would be my average. In Norway, that would be, I think, $150 in Norwegian currency and everything else. My siblings, my brother and my sister, they would typically buy 3 albums a year. They would borrow some of my CDs or some of my, but their spending would be 3 albums a year. My parents, who are vivid music fans and who I grew up with music in my home, they stopped purchasing albums altogether these last 20 years. They have their collection on vinyl, on CDs, some of it on cassette, and they listen to it vividly. They stopped. Now today, all of us subscribe to Spotify. So what that means is that my purchasing power, my average revenue per user has been capped from 150 to 10 euros. My siblings have gone from €3 to €10. My parents have gone from 0 to 10. And that is one of the reasons why we see the skewedness in how money is being redistributed. Now, playlists. Spotify did a choice in 2013 moving away from search-based interface to a playlist interface. And they did that because they saw that it became more and more difficult for people to know what they were searching for and to find it. And so they started investing more and more into playlists. And playlists went from being not only a curatorial asset, but a main asset, an asset in itself. Rap Caviar is a brand. It's a trademark brand from Spotify who they build live events around, they build tours around, and they cater for it. Same with Viva Latino and many of the top tier playlists. It's a huge type of investment from Spotify. And more, if not all, of Spotify's ecosystem is centered around it. It's centered around pushing us as subscriber into the top tier playlists. And who controls that? And that's, of course, a huge challenge. I think Spotify today has, 140 curators controlling all the human curated playlists globally. It's 140, 150. They're more and more unreachable. You have to go through more and more neutral parties. And then, of course, it's the algorithms, the digitally created and controlled algorithms. And the question, of course, is, can these systems be manipulated? And of course they can. Of course they can. Both the curatorial and the algorithmic can be manipulated, and they are manipulated. One question, of course, is the human curatorial questions arise all the time on whether someone is paying someone to have their single put in certain playlists. And Spotify and all the other streaming services say no, of course we don't. But we don't know. There is very, very little transparency. Almost all the, collaborations between rights owners and Spotify is hidden behind non-disclosure agreements, making it practically impossible to penetrate. The other thing is on the algorithmic playlists. And there was I don't know whether it reached here, but it was a year and a half ago. There was a really, really big news story in Norway, and Sweden, connected to a Swedish composer called Johan Rör, which illustrated part of this problem. So there's a Swedish composer called Johan Rör who operates under 5 different composer alias and 656 different artist alias. So he's a composer, he's a musician, he creates music for a specific type of playlists. So he creates music for deep listening, deep reading, or Latino sound, or if there's something on countries. So he creates. So if there's, let's say that there's a playlist on Argentinian tango made by Spotify, he would make a tango song for these types of playlists. And it turns out there was a newspaper in Sweden who blew this story first and found out that this one person is behind 15 billion streams alone, just him. That's just this gentleman. And to some certain extent, you could say, well, there's not really anything wrong with that. Musicians and artists use alias all the time. Prince, that wasn't his real name, and Bob Marley, that wasn't his real name. Bob Dylan, so we use alias all the time. The challenge is this. It turns out that the company that he is assigned to is Epidemic Sound. And Epidemic Sound is infamous for negotiating lower royalty rates so that you go into, let's say, a company such as Spotify, and you say that if you put this catalog in so many playlists, you only pay 50% of the royalties. You don't have to, and for Spotify, that is directly at the bottom line. So they have huge incentives for putting this type of music in a playlist over any other type of music. So there's an economic incentive that makes this extremely difficult. And what makes it very problematic is that we don't know. So any one of us who have catalog on Spotify or any of the other streaming services, we do not know who we compete against or under what terms that competition is happening under. Now, of course, I mean, just go a little bit back to this. Why this is important is AI will explode this. So the fact that you now have anyone who can create anything with a Suno or Udio program, you can do exactly what Johan Rør is doing. And you can outcompete local music in their own local playlists if you want to, and if it's not being fairly monitored by Spotify or the other streaming services. And that is a challenge. It's a huge problem. What is the future then for human artistry? And I think that we're in a bit of a bump right now, and I think we're going to pass it. And I think much of what we're discussing these past 3 days here in Lagos, and much of what we're discussing in Kristiansand, I think some of it, not all of it, but some of it will be sorted out these next 3, 5, 4 years for the better. I think what we'll see, and I was so happy seeing your presentation on Root, because you're spot on. And I think the future lies in building relationship between music and community, genres, identities, people, languages. That is where the future lies. And I think that there's a how to say, there's no competition, or there's very little competition in the streaming platform. Everyone's, Deezer, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, they sell the same interface with the same catalog, with the same experience. There's no competition in the content or the experience at all. So here I think there is lots of opportunity to innovate. And I think if you innovate on experiences where you build metadata that is different from simple core data, which is the name of the song, the name of the rights owners, the length of the song, etc., but where you can build thick data on things that we talked about before, things that can be credited but not necessarily owed royalty. Who were the technician, which studio was being used, all of these different things that can build metadata that music fans are interested in, that music fans find valuable, and that music fans are maybe willing to pay a different type of price for. And I think this is where the future lies. So the innovation is coming, and again, Root is a good example. Innovation is coming. We need regulation as well. So regulation and legislation also needs to be in place. And as I mentioned right before, the EU, some of the European markets are looking into regulating national streaming shares. So obviously you can do that. France has been regulating French music market for decades. They say that if you're a radio station, you have to play 50% French music, period. And not just French music, but French-speaking music. And then the radio station do that. There's nothing technological or legally difficult with saying that in this particular market, you have to make sure that there's at least 30% Nigerian music, or in our case, Norwegian music, in all the playlists. That can be easily regulated. Spotify can do it. But there's a policy and legislative willingness that needs to be in place. But some European markets are starting to look into that, and I think that's encouraging at least. I've been talking really fast, and I would encourage you to look into Create Me, and of course also if you want to reach out to me, this is my email address, and that's my LinkedIn, and those are the websites that Create Me and Mishmash, and I'd be super happy to to continue dialogues through emails, through different types of chats, and so forth. So yeah, should we just open the floor? Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you. It's such an insightful presentation. And then there's something you said when you were speaking about epidemic sound and their engagement with Spotify, right? I'm assuming that that's sort of like a partnership where Spotify pays a certain rate that is a bit lower than what they give to an average. And then I'm also assuming that most of the works that Epidemic Sound supplies are without vocals.
It doesn't necessarily have to be without vocals. It can be with vocals. But you're absolutely right. They have a deal that where they only have to pay a smaller royalty fee to the Epidemic.
Yes. So you said something about that particular model can be exploited and is being exploited. Can you elaborate on that?
Which the Epidemic?
Yes, where you have the guy.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. No, what I was meaning is that the playlist model and the curational model that lies behind the how we discover music can be manipulated and is being manipulated. So I can. We worked with some people who are high up in one of the top streaming services. I can't say which one, but they were with us in Kristiansand a couple of times and explaining how they do like everything from how to choose which songs to have. So one of the gentlemen said that the way they choose. The way the curators choose which songs to put into the high-level playlists is that they just get a weekly list of songs being sent to them to decide upon, like tens of thousands of tracks every single day or every single week, and it's being organized based on how many monthly listeners do you have, and how big is your marketing budget. So those two things decide on how high up in the. So if you have 1 million monthly listeners and 1 million, $500,000 in marketing spend, you will never get up to where the curators will listen to you and decide on whether your music shall enter any of the playlist or those types of playlists. That's the top tier playlists like Rap Caviar, Viva Latino, those types of things. They may find, in some of the lower, but you're doomed to never reach the surface of, unless you have monthly followers at a certain point, and then we're talking millions, and a marketing budget that they believe in. And you have to, many of you have already done this multiple times, but you have to also deliver a descriptive marketing plan, like what is it that you want to do. And part of this is because Spotify, and this goes back to what Spotify considered the playlists to be, and the playlists are a product. So they consider playlists to be their main product. And so when they decide which songs to put in, they decide to do that to enhance the product, which is the playlist, not the music. And so the music is being put in to cater for, and if they don't think that it will enhance the playlist, they take it out. So that's the.
Okay, thank you very much. My second question, I don't know, I know we can have that separately, because in the last slide, you talked about data in terms of, so in terms of metadata, there's another category you spoke about, which is sort of like, I'm trying to find the word, tick data.
Yeah.
Can you sort of like elaborate on some of the other things? I know you mentioned a few, but can I get like a list? Okay.
Yeah, thick data would be, very often in academia we talk about, quantitative numeric data, and often thick data as being more qualitative data, or being a different type of data. And there can be text-based descriptions. There can be different types of, let's say that data that would allow me, if I'm a fan of a bass player, for instance, and the bass player has been playing in different types of recordings, but it's a sound of the bass which is a thread that then you can build data around everything from the type of bass being played. There are so many things that you can build into data-wise, making my algorithmic experience thicker. So it's just not just a thin layer of the must-have data, like who owns it, how long is it, and who's singing or who's performing. So that's what I mean with thick data. I've been suggesting for I think almost 10 years that this is the future, that there will be, but it hasn't matured yet. And I don't know if that's because my prediction is wrong, or that it just takes time. But I think that when innovations such as Root, that's when that data becomes important. So those types of, you will build that data, and it becomes part of that experience. And I think that's going to be key.
Yeah, so I'm asking because I'm building a solution, HDverse, and so the idea, it solves 3 problems. Number 1 is ownership. And then yesterday we were talking about ownership from creation. And so it solves that and in an automated way. And 2 is sync licensing. And then for that, we need tick data, because then we have to deal with things like beat per minute. We have to deal with things like genres. And then subsequently, digital tracking and automated takedowns, where we now have to deal with fingerprinting and detection. And so for me, I think this has been really insightful, because some of these data are very important that we now have to seek for in the process of the verification. But thank you.
Yeah, I think we can divide the data into at least 3. I mean, one is the legal data that has to be there. There's who owns it, and then you have credit data, like who's been part of it. But then you have what I often think about with big data is experience data for the experience. To build, to enhance the experience. And that's part of what that's a different type of data. It doesn't necessarily have an economic or a legal, but for the experience, it might be super important. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Maestrom. I'm an independent artist, and I'm here for the first time. I was trying to get to the conference early enough, but I was not in the States, so I was not in Lagos. So I could not meet up. I just got back in to come. So I walked in, and I've been listening to what you said and everything about getting a playlist and promoting your music, and the AI and the guy that had billions of streams alone. So I might have had a lot of things that you probably have said maybe days ago or before I came in and everything, but I just want to to like ask, because it seems like I'm doomed, because starting out as an independent, I'm just growing, and that's why I try to attend things like this so I can get insights on how to scale my career. I'm indie, so I have to like be the business guy, and also trying to get ideas. But as I stepped in, I've been gotten like things that I've been saying that I don't think there's any, because they're saying this guy got billions of streams because he observed the market going a certain way and he went to create music in that direction so he can get on the playlist. You're saying he went to create art to fit a kind of playlist. You get, and you're also saying that to get considered by Spotify playlist, you have to get to have like this criteria and all. And I've been encouraged a little that sometimes when you apply, you can get picked if your song follows the kind of mood or has like a good description of how the song came to be and the mood it comes with. You might get, but it seems like you are. So I would like to know if that's because I know you're really a music exec, and you know you are really on the board and you would give it to me straight. So I don't mind, but I'm just like, I want to be clear that am I really doomed, or is there a chance for me to like get
well, some of us are.
little traction?
No. I think, and very often when I teach back at home and at the University of Agder, I give lectures on Spotify and music streaming and AI, and I always have to stop every now and then and just make really sure that it comes across. I'm not pessimistic. I'm not negative, but I think we're heading into a really bright future but we need to fix stuff, and we need to have some really difficult discussions while going there. But I think I think there are so many things pointing in the direction of the global music industry heading in a really great direction economically. Absolutely, there's no on a general note economically. Record music is exploding, and it will keep exploding for a long time. And then there's a huge and big and necessary fight on how that money is being redistributed and divided in a more sustainable way. But in general, I'm optimistic. When it came to your question about I don't think that you should make music to fit a specific playlist. I think you should make music to fit your audience, your fans, and engage with them and find how to find them. So I think you're doomed if you do what you think the playlists do. I think do what you think your fans like, and where can you find those fans? Yeah.
The image of the guy with I don't know if you're trying to encourage that.
No. I'm not. I'm using that as an example of a very negative development in streaming economics. And one of the reasons why I think what he is doing is bordering criminality is that don't quote me, Chatham House rules, but one of the reasons why I think it's bordering criminality is because streaming economics is a zero-sum game. So it's a zero-sum economy. So everyone's fighting for the same pie of money. So there's only, let's say that, so Spotify, if he comes on and has a lot of streams, he doesn't bring any more money into the table. You're taking, so since the problem with a streaming economy is that it's a fixed set of music, of money being divided on. So if you take more, I get less. That's as simple as it is. If someone else takes all, we get nothing. So it's a zero-sum economy, which means that everyone else's economic performance influences your economic performance.
Thanks for the presentation, Daniel. Great as ever. I am an artist manager, and I've been managing for, I think, almost 37 years now. So I've been protecting, supporting artists for 37 years almost. And are you doomed? Yeah, maybe. and my artists, are they doomed? Yeah, maybe. So there are roughly, I guess, maybe 8 million active artists on the DSPs right now trying to make a living from their art. And there has never been in the history of humanity, or certainly in the modern era, enough people in the world with enough disposable income to support everybody who wants to make a living at their art. That's just the way it is, and it's the way it will probably always be. But we do this because we love it and we believe. I believe that I can somehow help my 2 new artists find enough success that I can keep affording to manage. I've worked out what my company costs. I've got me and a full-time member of staff and 1 part-time member of staff. And I worked out last year that there are approximately 2,000 artists in the world who earn enough money from their art to allow me to afford to run my company to manage them. Only 2,000 artists who exist who can earn enough money so that I can afford to have my own, like pay my own bills. It's kind of a madness. And I really like I've got maybe a controversial take on monetizing art. So your figure about 1,000 streams, you've got to hit that in a year before you get paid, and I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think it's correct for 2 reasons. Well, one reason, it's Spotify's company. They can do what they want. They can set their own rules. If you want to spend $10 on a bowl, and I love soup. I think no soup, no hope. I adore soup. I love going to the restaurant. I like getting a bowl of soup. I go home and make more soup. If I want to spend $15 on a bowl of soup, I can do that. I can't afford that. So I'm not going to go to the Michelin star restaurant with a $15 bowl of soup. I've got a point, I'm sure. I'm going to try to find what the point is. I can buy a can of soup and take it home for for $1. And the artist is at liberty to sell their music any way they want to sell their music. And I will take a bullet for the right for any artist to create art. But I don't believe that anyone's got a right to make money from their art. There's not like
or to make a living.
To make a living, or even to make money. I think that if you create art, you first of all have to be appreciated by someone. Find that person and ask them if they'll pay the price you're willing to pay. And well, there are many, many ways we can do that. We can do it on a market stall. We can do it on Spotify. We can do it on Root. And I really I'm with you on this. I'm with you that I've got some other thoughts on where the world is going for different reasons, but I do believe that despite digitalization, people say the phrase, we live on, in our phones. We don't. We remain a physical species, and we need this. We need to be close to each other and have physical interactions. And I think community, and as you call it, thick data, is the way to do it. My last point is I've got a brand new artist called Eve, and when we first met Eve, before we met her, we were putting the word out that we were looking for new artists on our roster, and we got an email from a promoter in Glasgow saying, "You guys are trying to find a new artist. We've booked this artist tonight to support a headliner, and she's late. We didn't know where she was." So we looked on Instagrams, and she's Instagram live right now, and she's sitting in a big park. She's from London, and she's sitting in a park in Glasgow, which is 600 kilometers away, with 50 of her fans, just like playing guitars and swapping gifts, and I don't know, knitting scarves for each other. And we'd never heard of her. And she was a support act. Like, wow, she's got a hardcore, loyal fan base. So that's the reason that I don't think she's doomed. But at the same time, she's got to make a living in this extraordinarily packed global ecosystem. And I will always remind people that when I found Eve, she was doing fine without me. And when she sold out her headline tour, I didn't do that. I'm just a manager. And I'll find my way to bring my value to her. But if I think for a minute that I can somehow make her famous, no chance. I'm just a manager. And in that way, I keep my humility, but I remember that when I go to bed at night, it's kind of not up to me. It's almost all luck. So are you doomed? No one can tell you. You might just get lucky. But you'll have to get lucky no matter what your talent is. You'll have to get lucky. Ed Sheeran got lucky. Ed Sheeran's not huge because he's amazing. He's just another, white dude with a guitar and a check shirt. He just got lucky. And he's a little bit of talent. I've maybe got a point, but God knows what it is.
I think there was a point in there somewhere. Yes. Did you? Kenneth? Oh, okay.
Hello. Good afternoon. So my question is, looking at the trends that you've shown us today about how recording music is growing, what do you think for super fans and how D2C works with Roots coming in and the other startups that will be coming in as well? What do you think is a trend looking like in the next 2-3 years, and would that be a major source of revenue in this our music economy? I think that's one question. And the other question is, you're coming from Norway, you've seen things being done there, and how the regulation works. Because right now, if you're leaving this room, we would want to explore how D2C works even further. And as you rightly said, regulations are part of what makes things, work. Government needs to be involved in how these things work. How do you think, from where you're coming from, what's the experience like in terms of regulation, and what do you think we can adopt here, being that Norway cannot be like Nigeria, but I mean, it's music and it's music business and things flow the way, it flows basically. How do you think we can regulate, this in terms of streaming, in terms of, so that these guys here, they understand that they can also, as artists are making money from them, they are making money and nobody is intruding into each other's parts, regardless of the fact that they are selling the music for the artists here.
All right, I'll try first to answer your first question. I've been to several talks in several places where a lot of people point to, of course, merchandise, and of course, lots of the ticket sales were very much in line with what you also and I think it kind of ties into what I was doing when I had a band, and I was kind of managing our own band, and we sold quite a lot of records in France for some reason, and I remember we had to sit down, and at the time, because this was before streaming, way before streaming, and set up a budget of how many paying fans do we need to make this? Now, what is the minimum criteria of fans? How many people do we need who buy our record, who go to see one of our concerts, who maybe buy one of our T-shirts? How many? And then to count from there, and then to figure out how do we find them? How do we nurture them? How do we build a community around that? And I think that is key, which is what you're doing. I think it's going to be super difficult. That's so what you're up against is it's going to be super difficult. Because I think there are lots of platforms. Spotify has tried this. Spotify has tried selling merchandise as well and selling live tickets, and it didn't work. They didn't manage, and they keep trying to build different types of, and it doesn't work. It could be because of the interface of Spotify. I'm thinking mostly because Spotify doesn't have any music relationship. Spotify as a company with their subscribers. The artistic musical relationship is with the fans or with the artists, And Spotify effectively cut that off deliberately in their business model. They deliberately made, and now I'm sounding super like let's bash Spotify, and I'm not there either. But they made a choice a long time ago, saying that for instance, the metadata that matters for Spotify is which weekday is it that you listen to it? Is it Friday? Is it Monday? What type of day is it? Is it during your work hours or is it during leisure time? Is it, that type of metadata is super important for Spotify because they sell it to third parties, to advertisers. So they built a system around that, and they've neglected completely the music component to it, the music community component to it. It might be that they want to try and reattach it in some way, but nothing of Spotify's infrastructure metadata is centered around music experience, music fandom. It's centered around metadata that they need to sell it to third parties. So they're super interested in knowing if you listen to Spotify while you're driving, while you're commuting to work, while you're at work, while you're reading. That's what matters. Or if you're in a shopping mall, or because they sell all of that data to third parties. So I think to go back to, I think to try to find ways to make value. Again, ARPU, average revenue per user, or average revenue per fan. How can you build a relationship with your fans where there's an economic transaction that makes your music project sustainable economically? I think that's the. And then there was the other question was. Yes. Yes.
For Nigeria here, what are we going to be looking at here if we are going to sustain super fans or direct to streaming, D2C? What are the regulations like in Norway, and what can we adopt here for government to?
Well, I think, in all fairness, I mean, Norway is 5.5 million. It's like 3 streets in Lagos. We're a small country. So it's difficult to compare. But what I think, and one of the things that I've been talking to Shinedu and to Michael about, what I find super exciting about being part of this is that I think that Nigeria and many of the African markets, many of the Latin American markets too, can redesign things. I think many of the current things that we have in Europe and in North America are, they're locked. They're settled, and there won't be any way of changing them. And that goes into collecting societies, infrastructures, and all types of things. What you have in many of these emerging markets are strange, but in these markets is that you can redesign it. So in some respect, you can say that Nigeria has an opportunity to lead in some of these and to show how to. I mean, one thing simply being to say that you must play. There shall be Nigerian music in Nigerian playlists or Nigerian streaming platforms of 30%, there can some of these markets can be trailblazers in redesigning some of the infrastructures, so I don't. I'm cautious of thinking that we should, or that you should look to Norway or any. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. How can we adopt it and make it ours? Is then looking at both markets and how we operate as Nigerians, and So I mean, you've answered part of the question already.
All right, sorry. I think my biggest, how do you say, my most important suggestion would be to invest in infrastructure. And infrastructure as in not just, not cables and, but as in, how do you say, ways of operating, models of operating, building data registries or data components, and to maybe also test out. So if root works out, if that's then then if there's a success with root, then root will have a type of metadata that will be valuable in its own case, and which can be showcased and be used in other Nigerian, African, and eventually also global. But I think infrastructure is the key. I think was it Chinedu? You said that the law is great. That the law, the Nigerian law on and legislation is. I think it's the infrastructure that is where you need to there needs to be investments and innovations. And I say infrastructure in a broad sense, not just cables and registries and so forth. All right. Yep.
Mr. Fon, thank you very much for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. It's okay. I was very excited when you talked about laptops as musical instruments, because I like to use GarageBand on my phone to play some string instruments, and I realized that there are a lot of opportunities to create music that way. So when you talked about it, I got excited and I said, I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit more about it and what entails, what goes on in your school with regards to that.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about that. My boss, who was the head of the department a long time ago, he's a brilliant guitarist. And the University of Agder, a long time ago, established itself as the premier music performance program in Norway, by far. So on popular music, not on classical music, but on popular music, it has been there for a long time. And the initial reason why they started discussing having laptops or digital components as a main instrument was because we had some really talented DJs applying to get in, and who worked not as a DJ but as an instrumentalist, DJ instrumentalist, who use DJing as part of a band and not, or a part of a musical, and not just as a disco DJ. So that was the main reason, and where they used decks, but also samplers and so forth. So that was the original, where it's obvious that the musician has super high quality as a musician, but who doesn't play guitar or piano or anything else. So he was finding a way into doing this. And when he so now you can you have to go through different tests, of course, but you can apply to get in, and you could try to you probably struggle with getting in with GarageBand, or there would be some sort of excellence in it, but you would any type of technological programs is perfectly possible. But the main point is that you don't need to have an instrument or a vocal as a passing criteria to get into the music school. The interesting thing is that he really did a brave and he had a fight, and he was really brave in doing having those choices, and being heavily criticized by everyone. When we were invited to the European Music Conservatories Association conferences, he was almost being yelled at. It was that hostile. And then when we were awarded this, and this is this is a huge achievement. The Center of Excellence in Music Education, it's an honor to have it, but it also has 8 million euros following it. So it allows us to do a lot. When those choices led to this, everyone wanted to talk to him again. So now he's going in the same conferences, having meetings with all the old music conservatories, asking for advice on how they can include the same type of technology in their music programs. So, and of course, he did that, but he also opened up for music business, which I eventually ran for. So music business at a master's level as a program, which was also at the time quite unheard of at the music conservatory. So he was a bit of a trailblazer in that. The tech part is there's no like you can use this program but not this it's very open. It's the art, it's what you use it for which is important. Yeah. I've been talking non-stop now for
Yeah, thank you, Prof, for the insight. You had made mention of or encourage local, and I mean local, more like looking word for some kind of homegrown solutions, because historically, from the 1940s, the way the record company or the way the recording business had been set up is strictly a business, it's not charity. And there have always been arguments between those who make the music or everybody in the value chain and who writes the check, who accounts for what you should get. There have been disputes about record sales, figures. Then you had the emergence of the collective management organizations, because not everybody can go to a user to say, where's my money? So all of that came up. Then they further broke it down where somebody's representing publishers and somebody's representing those dealing with hardware, as it were then. But right now, we are all just dealing with air. MP3 format is just some wave formats we're exchanging, right? So those who have put the infrastructure behind this value exchange, for this value exchange to be able to happen, have essentially just invested in technology. And if I have to get my music from here to Japan to Norway, from me to you, and I can't do that physically, as how I could have bought a CD or a vinyl or something, the aggregators or the gatekeepers have just kind of taken the place of what the monopolistic record companies would have done then. Because at the time in Nigeria, there were about 4 big record companies, all subsidiaries of foreign companies in Nigeria. And if they gave you a contract, just like you want to sign on to a new program like an app, and you have 17, 18 pages of small print, your only option is I agree or I do not agree. If you do not agree, you're going nowhere. There's no room for negotiation. So it's a great thing that what you guys are doing is bringing some kind of insight and challenging other territories to see, look at your core challenges or pinpoint and see how that can be addressed. I have always agreed or advocated that until territories start understanding where their pinpoints are and how they can be less dependent on structures that are totally outside their control and that they don't have any negotiating powers against. Spotify, for example, says until you get 10 million streams within 90 days, even if you got 9,900,000, but you only were able to cross the 10 million 2 days after the 60-day window, all your revenue that you have accrued goes to the black box. You really don't have a choice. So I am strongly advocating that local territories find out what works for them and only begin to scale when, if I need to cross territories and I do not have the prerequisite muscle, then we can have some kind of mutual handshake. The same way I could have signed, we're talking about Dr. Alban and Dennis Pop the other day. Yeah, the same way they make a record in Sweden and say, okay, we're giving a label in Nigeria, record company in Nigeria, the license to cover the Nigerian market. But they didn't need the Nigerian label that they were licensing to play any part in how they sold the music in Sweden or in the in Scandinavian region where it originated from. So that is the formula we're all going to have to go back to. If not, someday somebody just pulls the plug and they actually realize that even the apps and the software with which you're making your music is actually outside of your control, and you might not even be able to, in quote, create. So looking inward and looking for homegrown solutions and only scaling when you need to have like an interchange or a handshake is the only way forward. If not, we're all sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Thank you.
I completely agree. Just to support what you're saying. I mean, the European Union they opened up a call now that we hope to try to take a stab at on where they open up for non-European collaborations. But the point in that call is that they say that the future of the creative industries, not just music, lies in social communities, or it lies in localities, and it lies into so they're thinking the same. Exactly. So I think as a counter development into the global general consumption that they target communal, social cohesion, scenes, those types of things, and that's yeah.
And just to take that a little bit further, because these structures are so internationalized and they solve the problems without us at the beginning, let's say 5-7 years ago, foreseeing what these challenges would be, local territories have actually lost sight of the fact that even within their community, take Nigeria for example, less than 40% of the potential music consumption demographic is actually being attended to now. And how do I mean? We're not buying physical copies of sound carriers anymore. So, if for example we have a total of 100 million phones in Nigeria, which is a primary delivery platform, about 10% of that 100 million own more than one phone set. I have two here. There's another one in my bag, right? Another further 7 to 8%, they have a third line. So when you count 100 million, you're actually dealing with about 65 million individuals, because then one person has multiple. So of this number, in a potential of 75 million lines, only possibly about 45% are smartphones. So it means if I have somebody down in the hinterland, there could be 10 million, 15 million, as the case may be, who don't have smartphones. No matter how much you like Burna Boy, no matter how much you like Whiskey or Dr. Alban or ABBA, you just are not being accounted for. Yeah. So that's another challenge that we are overlooking, which I think local structures and maybe some kind of technological tweak, either watering down bandwidth and stuff, can create further penetration. When you have more penetration, you actually see that there's a whole lot of low-hanging fruit that we're leaving behind, rather than chasing something outside that we're at the mercy of the DSPs. Thank you.
I think that's super important points, and maybe it touches upon something that we also talked about yesterday. I can't remember if it was Fusa who touched upon, that there should be other ways of reaching those audiences. Then, if you can't reach them through smartphones, and maybe there are other ways of reaching. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. And my apologies, I was working a little late, but I've heard several references to roots. I'd like to have a bit of an idea, if you don't terribly mind, just what that is about, please.
Yes. Could you
That's
give a quick summary of roots?
The roots. Then after that, someone shared a video with me 2 days ago. I've not authenticated it, but the general gist is that there's an attempt to identify the parameters to designate what piece of music is AI generated from what is AI assisted. I'd like to also know if you're familiar with this development and what your personal thoughts are. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Roots, we are building the direct-to-fan infrastructure for African artists to own and monetize their super fan base. For example, on our platform, an artist can sell their music directly to fans before it comes out on stream. And I use an example. If you look at the cinemas, movie producers put their movies on cinemas, they make so much profit before it goes out on streaming, the Amazon Primes and the Netflix. We're trying to bring that same model to the music industry and enable artists, because there's so much money that is left idle that African artists are living at. And I use an example of the taxi era, when you needed a taxi to move around with convenience. Then Uber came. Millions of car owners' eyes were blind to the idle money that they didn't have. Then Uber came and opened their eyes. So we want to do that same for African artists. And we're starting with direct-to-fan sales of music. We want to be focused with that. But then we are planning to build an ecosystem where they can also sell merchandise, because a huge opportunity to, like you said, it's very, very difficult. But then we are going to definitely try our best to solve that problem with the help of technology. Then we're also looking at more tickets locally. Artists can sell more tickets locally, because, for example, artists they sell their tickets on Tix.Africa. They sell it on different ticketing platforms, but those platforms is not tailored for them. They don't give them their fan data. So imagine having all of this on one platform. Also selling vinyls, selling signed vinyls, even running email marketing with their super fans to communicate with them. And like I said, most importantly, owning that super fan data so they can pass it down to their children. And I give an example of how streaming platforms don't give fans their fan data. So they don't give artists their fan data. And imagine an artist like Michael Jackson being able to pass down his fan data to his estate or his family, or even I use Asha as an example. So our platform does that for artists, and now artists can now earn directly from their fans and now own that fan data. We are currently live and we have products. It is running, but then we're focused on upcoming artists, and we've done campaigns with them. We've paid over 200,000 naira to upcoming artists who are early, but now we want to focus on scaling to established artists. And I also talked about my mom, because when I was young, I was 17 years ago, my mom was a gospel artist. She sold CDs directly. She also sold VCD. She also sold VCD, and I remember that she sold the album directly, and her fans, she was not popular, let me just call her fans, friends and families, they came to buy the album directly from her, and they paid her significant revenue. She made good numbers, and she put in so much work into making that album. She even made a video, and I showed her that she also hired a she hired a limousine. But then, and now she's no longer doing music today. Life has taken her to a different path. But I now asked myself if she was going to do music today, and I'm telling her that she has to make 100,000 streams to make $30, when she could have sold probably 50 records to make that same equivalent. And it's the reality of us in Nigeria, and we're just coming to. And lastly, I also talked about us not replacing the streaming platforms. I use an example of the banking ecosystem. Many of us use fintechs, and we also use traditional banks. I have OPA, I have UBA. But most of us like keeping our most important money in the traditional banks. And I also said that the fintech just created a new layer on top of the banking ecosystem that enabled us get accessibility to finance easily and seamless. In the same way, we want to create a new monetization layer on top of the streaming ecosystem that enables artists to own and monetize their most important assets, which is that super fan relationship that drive the highest value for them.